Yeah, good to go. There we go. I'll let Joe, if you can just let people in as and when they arrive, that'd be fantastic. So welcome everybody to workshop number 2 of the TBAT Innovation Challenge. I'm Sam Stevens. I'm founding director here at TBAT, and I'll be hosting this afternoon. If you can see the characters on the screen there, you've got Adam, Alistair, Chris, Reese and Matt. They are the key speakers this afternoon. I'm absolutely delighted that they've been able to join us and really appreciate the time that they've put in to putting their presentations together and being here this afternoon. So a big thank you to them. So I'll be running quite a few of the slides, but then we'll move to other people. So there might be a slight delay as we move around. But on the whole, we have built in 2 comfort breaks this afternoon, and we aim to finish by about 4:30 at the latest. What I'd really like you to do, everybody, if you've got any questions whatsoever, if you pop them in the chat, and then I can bring those into the conversation. And what we find is that when the speakers are underway, if there's questions in the chat, I can bring those into the conversation. It makes it a lot more interactive, and hopefully you get some little snippets that are actually also terrifically useful to you as a company. So I think we've got a bit of housekeeping. So if you're here as an attendee, if you can turn off your microphones and also your cameras for the duration, that would be fantastic. As I say, please use the chat if you want to get in touch. If you've got a really in-depth question, pop it in the chat and we might ask you to just put your microphone back on if we want you to expand on that at all. But on the whole, the chat function is absolutely brilliant. As I say, we do have 10-minute breaks built in. If we're running a bit late, I might shorten those or take one of those out, but we will have at least one. We have got 2 Q&A opportunities, but what we've found in the past is by keeping it alive in the chat, we actually get to cover off a lot of those questions. So yeah, it's going to be a really interactive afternoon this afternoon. We've got some fantastic content. Each of the 5 or 6 presentations, I've been through the slides, are absolutely fascinating. And I think this is going to really benefit all the businesses that are out there and listening today. So the TBAT Innovation Challenge, we're in year 3. Each year it's getting bigger and better. So these are all the companies that we've been working with to pull this together. Our headline sponsor being Shakespeare Martineau, which we couldn't do this without them and their support, and Reese will be talking later. But you can see the myriad of other consultancies and businesses across the UK that have really helped to come behind this. And this is all about local businesses or smaller businesses reinvesting into the business community and making time available to help entrepreneurs and younger and smaller companies really get some key information that they might be struggling with otherwise. And there's some fantastic hints and tips come out during the afternoon. And these are, as you can see on the slide there, they're all the people who have generously donated their time into running these workshops with us. Many of them have also put into the award fund at the back end, which I'll come on to in just a second. So a big thank you to Shakespeare, and looking forward to Teresa's talk all about contracts and people and how to employ them later on. Okay, these are the 4 workshops. We're on people and recruitment today. Next up, we've got on the 22nd of May, one is all about product development. It's about IP protection. It's getting the right product or service for the right market, understanding who your customer is, how you might differentiate from your competition. Another fantastically interesting workshop. And then finally, number 4, we've been through the other 3 about money and people and product and market. It's all about how do we make some real money out of this. And so that workshop is all about exploitation, both exploitation of your product or the service you've developed, but it's also about perhaps licensing it out or even you selling your company at the back end, which is going to be a terrific segue into Adam Rhodes' speak, who will be first off this afternoon, which is all about planning with the exit in mind. So that kind of be a nice segue into that when we get there. The 4 workshops are there as an information piece and are really to open your eyes into what you need to know as a business. We're also running the Innovation Challenge, which is a business competition that will open for entrance. You can pre-register on our website. If you go onto the tbat.co.uk website, there's a link direct to the Innovation Challenge. You can pre-register, but the actual competition opens when we close workshop number 4, and then it's open for kind of 2 months until the 18th of August. And then we've got, for the top 10 finalists, we've got the finalist showcase coming up on the 9th of October. And this year it's bigger and better. We're down at the National Space Centre in Leicester, which is an absolutely fabulous venue to hold the event, and really will capture what innovation and technology is all about. So really excited about that. Okay, to enter into the challenge, there's some eligibility criteria there. Companies under 3 years old, really. It is with a techie bent to either the product or the service they're developing. And they want to be aspiring entrepreneurs as well. So maybe you just got that fantastic idea, you're at a very early stage, or you've been at it for 2 or 3 years, or a little bit more than that if you're still heavily involved in R&D, and you're just ready to launch into the market. They're the kind of companies that we'd like. If you think you're outside of that but still like to enter, do get in touch with us at TBAT, and we'll have a little chat with you and see whether we feel that's appropriate. It's not absolutely hard and fast. That's the criteria that we hope to stick to. The prize fund, so there's a £5,000 cash prize, and then there's over £60,000 worth of support from many of the people who have helped on the workshops. And there's a few there that we've listed. Absolutely terrific thank you to all those companies that have contributed to that. Last year, the winner and the top 2 runners up, we divided up the price packages, and it worked really, really well. Somebody wanted the legal piece, somebody wanted the accountant, somebody wanted the CE marking. It was fantastic. It worked really well. And this is real help into your business to help you move to the next level. So if you are one of those companies that could compete, please register and take part. If you know other companies that would like to take part and compete, please encourage them to do so and spread the information. 2 next workshops, as I mentioned before, Wednesday the 22nd of May and then the 26th of June. Again, it's going to be an afternoon, 3 hours or so. Okay, I'll go back to housekeeping. If you've just joined us as an attendee, please, if you can turn your microphones off and your cameras, that would be absolutely fantastic. Speakers, when we get going, if you can turn your cameras off as well, and just the person who's speaking and myself will be up on the screen. And then if I do need the speakers to join the conversation, I'll let you know and bring you in at that stage. But a big thank you to all the speakers for taking part. Okay, why should we run a workshop all about people and people and recruitment? And it's all about really building the best team for your business. And we've got some real experts going to talk to us later on this afternoon about what to do about getting the best people, building the most dynamic team, making your pounds investment go the furthest on the team that you've invested in. So with it, I always use this quote. I love it. Donald Rumsfeld. So in business, there are things you know, so that's good. And there are things you don't know, which is also quite good because you can go out and find about those. But the problem is there's an awful lot of unknown unknowns. And this workshop is all about opening your eyes to the wider issues around people, retention, investment in staff, recruiting the best, getting fit to get the best people into your company. And it's those unknown unknowns that we hope to expose this afternoon and open your eyes to what is possible. So as I say, please use the chat so we can make it as dynamic as possible, get the real information out of this team of experts. Okay, I think I'll just quickly run through the speakers. So myself, I'll be hosting. I've got a pink shirt on today, not the blue one. I do own more than 2 shirts. We've got Reese from Shakespeare's, Adam from Rhodes Wealth Management. We've got Simon Bucknell from EMBS Recruitment, talking about getting the right people for your team. Matt Bull from Action Coach, Chris Hill from Vested, that's all to do with shares and making the best of that, and also Ali Butt from the CFO Centre. Absolute fantastic array of speakers. I can't wait to hear what they've got to say. Okay, so we'll actually get going with the main workshop. So if Adam, you can put your microphone on and keep your camera on. That's fantastic. Other speakers, if you just drop your cameras, that's fantastic. Adam, over to you. If you just give me the nod, give me the nod when you want me to move on, we'll do that.
Thanks, Sam, and thanks everybody for making the time to join today. I'm sure you're going to find it really, really informative. Firstly, I put this shirt on specially today, borrowed it from my dad. Sam's usually got a flowering number on or something, so I put this on mainly to impress him. But he's let me down today. He's got something quite plain on, so a bit disappointed with that, but maybe something better next time, hopefully, Sam. Anyway, yeah, start with the end in mind. This is a title I use for a lot of seminars, and most of the seminars we do are face-to-face. This is one of the first ones I've done remotely. So I think it's really important with anything that you do with your business that you're always starting with the end in mind, and people in recruitment is no different. You need to be thinking with everybody you bring into your business, what value are they going to add? And is that person really going to be a benefit to me when I want to exit this business? I think all decisions that you make in your business should be made with the end in mind. And for most people, the end in mind isn't just sort of winding up your business and slowly scaling it down. It's exiting it for hopefully a substantial amount of money. And you're only as good as your people. So next slide, please. So what I'm going to cover today, literally 30 seconds on me, St James's Place. Then I'm going to talk quite a bit about the role of the financial advisor in attracting and retaining top talent. A package is no longer just what you pay them every year. There's much more to it than that, and people do put quite a lot of value on some of the additional benefits that you can slot into a package for people. I'm going to be talking a bit about what's your magic number, and then there'll be a couple of a few sort of final thoughts from me. Some of the final thoughts are from my experiences of working with lots of business owners, and some of them are just more sort of financial. Next slide, please. So Rhodes Wealth Management, we're 16 years old, 17 years old in September. We've got 30 staff. We look after about £500 million for clients. I call it 16 years young because, whilst I'm in a shirt that I borrowed from my dad today, we are a young, innovative wealth management business, and our industry is full of, slightly more stuck in their ways financial advisors, dare I say it, some a bit lazy and a bit complacent. We're not like that. We're a really dynamic business, and about 8 years ago, we made the decision that most of our work was going to be with entrepreneurs and business owners. So we specialise in sort of high net worth people, entrepreneurs, business owners, and people whose circumstances are a bit more complicated than most. But once we start working with business owners, we end up doing quite a lot within the business in terms of sort of employee benefits and stuff as well. So St James's Place is a FTSE 100 company, and essentially I can guarantee all the financial advice that we give. They're very well known for looking after what I call little old ladies, which is retired people and what I call very retired people. People that have accumulated a lot of wealth and just need some financial advice. They're probably not as well known for what we do, which is advising business owners. Next slide, please. Probably the most important thing they do is back and guarantee the advice that we do give to our clients. I think it's always nice to work with a big company and know that if you do have a problem, you've got somewhere to go back to. But I think everybody really would prefer to work with a small business, so you can, send a quick WhatsApp message to your wealth manager. You can have a FaceTime meeting or a Zoom meeting, and you can contact them outside of working hours if it's really important, and you get that personal touch. So we are essentially like a franchisee, basically. So we're a nice, small, little business. Next slide, please. So the role of your financial advisor in attracting and retaining top talent. So we've got lots of clients that are running sort of small and medium-sized businesses. We don't look after.
I have read it now, but I'm sure my niece has got it.
Anna. Oh, yes, there we go. Beat me to it.
I thought that was a question for a second, Sam, but no. Any questions, by the way, just put them in the chat, and Sam will just interrupt me whenever. Sam, just jump in anytime.
Yeah.
So in terms of attracting and retaining top talent, your financial advisor, whoever advises you on your company pension scheme, your employee benefits, etc., I'd really urge you to involve them in the recruitment process. If you're trying to hire somebody that's going to be really key to your business, I've got quite a few of my clients that will bring me in and say, look, this guy's, I'm 90% sure he's going to join Adam, but can you just help him understand the difference between his Rolls-Royce pension scheme and the employee benefits package that Rhodes Wealth Management have put together, and particularly the pension? Because let's face it, I can't go to the gym now and sit in the sauna without hearing somebody talking about their gold-plated Rolls-Royce pension scheme because I'm in Derby. So but actually these pension schemes aren't that good anymore. Most of the defined benefit bit has been closed. They're now in sort of a money purchase pension that's very similar to what you'd probably be offering them anyway. But people don't really understand it all properly. So I would make it, for top people that you really want to secure, I'd really encourage you to engage with your financial advisor and get them involved in the process of recruiting them, so they really understand your benefits package. And it shows that you care about people if you can show them that it isn't just a salary. Look what we do, we have this and that, and I'll come on to sort of benefits you'll have in there.
And
if
I think
you don't want to get
I can say what's really important, Adam, is that the opportunity to talk to somebody yourself when they do join. This is where I am today with my different pension pots. I mean, people are moving job more and more these days, so they'll have little bits of pension pot everywhere. And the more senior the person, the company might invest in a bit of your time to say, can you work with this person to help consolidate what they've got, or at least talk them through the options to give them the best possible growth path with their pensions as they stand at the moment.
Yeah, and it just makes them feel a bit more valued, I think, because a lot of companies won't do this. So next slide, please. So what does the typical package look like? Obviously, you've got a salary. You have to provide a pension. You can't get around that. So if any of you aren't doing that, then you're going to be in trouble. You need to pay in at least 3%, and the employee pays in 5%. One step up from that, and I almost never meet somebody who isn't offering death in service, but it makes sense to offer some death in service. It's very cheap, and the perceived value to the employee is a lot higher than what it will cost you. So that's always good. One step up from that, you might have something called a health cash plan that would sit next to the pension and the death in service. A health cash plan really is to do with prevention more than cure, really. It's not private medical, but it costs less than, normally these cost less than £10 per employee, and it just means that they can go and they can see the dentist, the optician, physios, they can have scans, they have 24/7 access to a private doctor. If they just have a query, they can do like a web chat and things like that. It's kind of cross-subsidized by the fact that a lot of people don't end up using it, but those that do really benefit, and it's always the same people that go and claim back for seeing the dentist and stuff like that. One step up from that would be if you wanted to provide private medical insurance for your employees, and that is a lot more expensive than a health cash plan. For private medical insurance, you're probably looking at 8 to 10 times the cost of a health cash plan. But when you look at private medical insurance, it's the wait times to see certain doctors and specialists and consultants are going up and up in the UK. If you can provide something that allows your employees to go and have this weight taken off their mind of getting the results from a certain scan or something quicker than going through the NHS, then that can be really beneficial. It can take a massive load off their mind. Mean they're back at work a lot quicker and more focused on their day job. I mean, we're incredibly lucky to have the NHS in this country. I think it's fantastic. Having had a couple of kids, I think it's just amazing what they do. But there are scenarios where I think we all wish we could just get things done a bit quicker. Often when you go private, I've been for a scan on my neck. I had a scan, waited outside for 15 minutes, went back in and looked at the scan. My wife's had a scan. She's gone away from the NHS. This is ages ago, and I think it was like 8 weeks till she went back for somebody to actually look at the scan with her. So, if it's something physiotherapy related, then it's not going to be very high priority. The other thing people have. Sorry, Sam, you got a question?
Yeah. So, okay, if you've just joined us, so we're just having speakers with cameras on. So, if you could pop your camera off, please, Susanna. because you're the only one with your face on the screen, and very lovely it is too, by the way. But thank you for joining us. So sometimes the death in service piece might be, and the income protection might be a company-wide policy, and sometimes it's tailored to the individual, isn't it? So there's a couple of options there.
Yeah, often. So I'm going through it as it gets sort of more complicated and you want to invest more in these sorts of benefits. So the last one includes income protection, and typically you might just cover your directors for that sort of thing. So income protection means typically you might pay your staff if they're off for the first 3 or 6 months. A lot of teachers and really big businesses will pay people full pay for 6 months, half pay for 6 months. Most small businesses can't afford to do that, but it becomes a bit of a problem if you've got shareholders and things that are ill for an extended period, but they still want to draw their dividends. So income protection works really well, and you can do an executive income protection policy, so it's all sort of paid for through the business. There's other things that can be bolted onto this, critical illness insurance. If you've got more than 50 staff, you can actually set up a system where you give them all a bit of a budget, and they can actually pick out what they want and what they value most. But looking at the delegate list, there's not that many of you with more than 50 staff. So this is just a bit of a high level rundown of what you can do. The other thing that's really relevant and is becoming much more popular is offering an executive pension scheme. You can offer an executive pension scheme to anybody within your company, really. The main difference between a normal standard pension scheme such as Nest, which a lot of employers would offer, is an executive pension scheme. The costs of running that and the payment of the financial advisor will come from within the pension that the staff pay into. Whereas if you have a pension scheme like Nest or Royal London or Aegon, you will probably pay the financial advisor a fee every year to review those clients. Yeah. Staff can opt out of that and into an executive pension scheme if they feel they would like to be getting much more detailed financial advice. One of the biggest problems is people sign up for a pension, they just pay into it for their whole working life, and they don't really understand what it's going to provide for them, which is what we'll come on to next.
Okay.
So yeah, employee wellbeing is absolutely essential, and it's mental and physical. And with finance, if people are struggling mentally and there's financial worries as well, that can only add to the problems. If you look at absenteeism in SMEs, 70% of SMEs feel that their profitability is impacted by absenteeism. So what we just looked at, some of those solutions, they could actually get your staff into better shape so that they don't go off sick, or if they do go off sick, just get them treated that little bit quicker. Obviously, if we can keep your staff fitter and healthier, they're going to do a better job for you.
And a lot of what you've been talking about is how to also differentiate yourself in the marketplace, isn't it? So it's not just come to me and we'll do you 3% pension and that's it, because that's the legal minimum. It's we want to get you on board onto our company, and we're going to put a structure around what your package looks like, which is going to be a lot more favourable than going to one of our competitors or a different job. I think that's a key message out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the minimum you can put into an employee's pension is 3%. They have to put in 5%, but most people are putting in at least 5% and matching it for the employee. But it's the service really that people are missing. One of the biggest things is ladies, actually. Females generally will take less risk than men, and when they set up their pension, if you've just got to tick a few boxes saying, oh, do you want something that's low risk, medium risk, or high risk? Women will more often than men will go towards the low risk, and actually it's quite risky to leave all your money in low risk investments if it's saving towards retirement, because inflation will eat into the gains of those investments and they just won't make anywhere near as much. Whereas if you're getting some good financial advice and it's explained to you that actually quite high risk investments are not actually high risk if they're over an extended period of time, they're only high risk if they're held for a short period often. That sort of stuff just gets completely missed, and your pension could literally be worth nearly twice as much over a 40-year period if you just make an extra couple of % a year. So it's really important that people are educated a bit on risk, and that doesn't happen with a normal pension scheme, unfortunately, normally. Next. So what's your magic number? This is something that historically, this has only really been done for company owners, quite wealthy individuals, and that is changing completely now with technology. So what's your magic number really? Cash flow modeling. But what we want to do is, there's still people locally that charge £2,000 to do this. Anybody on this call that wants to do this, we can do it remotely for you. If you fill in a questionnaire, it'll take us about 15 minutes to build this model, and we'll do it for free for anybody that's on the call. It is so easy now with technology, but in London you pay about £5,000. Locally, still people charging £2,000. And really, for business owners and stuff, it's amazing because you can work out what you need to sell your business for. But for everybody should be doing this. You should be thinking, right, okay, what do I actually want to do between now and when I retire? So these blue boxes are different things that people, this couple are the same age, they both want to retire at 50. Clearly they're optimists. And there's all a few things they want to do before retirement in there, and then after retirement there's a few things. So you can plan in anything, be it buying a new car every 3 years, buying a second-hand car every 5 years, going on 3 holidays a year, 10 holidays a year, buying a yacht, buying a holiday home abroad, or just having enough money to live and survive on. You can do it differently for everybody, but we can also plan in there everything that you've done so far and the rate at which you are saving into ISAs, pensions, and things like that. Next slide, please. Then the output of this model shows you basically, next slide as well. The output shows you where your money would be invested, what sort of structures and things you can use to give you the lifestyle that you want. Now, this is a business owner who sold his business for £4 million. He's obviously spent quite a lot of money and he runs out of money in his 90s. Lots of other people will just be saying, well, I'm putting £500 a month into my pension. I'm an engineer, perhaps my wife works for the NHS as a nurse. The engineer's earning 60k, the nurse is earning 45k. Well, we've got these pensions, but what do they really mean? Will I actually be able to stop working at 62 or 63, or when will I be able to afford to retire? People just don't know. So this software now, it's so much slicker and so much easier to use that everybody should have this kind of modeling done for them. I'm sure most of the business owners on here and the entrepreneurs will have had this done, and they'll have a number in their head and they'll think, I need to sell my business for X amount of millions, and then I can walk off into the sunset, put the kids through university, give them house deposits and all that nice stuff. But actually normal employees, if you put them in touch with somebody to help them do this sort of work, or if you just engage with your current financial advisor, they'll probably be able to do this for you if you ask the question. I think it's really powerful, and it just helps them know that, as an entrepreneur, a business owner, obviously you're starting with the end in mind, but you want to have your employees' best interests and the end in mind for them as well. If they're retiring at 65 and they've given you loads of years service, you want them to be all right, don't you? And this shows that you do care about that, I think. Next slide, please. Oh, how am I doing for time, Sam?
You got 2 minutes, Adam.
Oh, great. Okay. So final thoughts, top tips, if you like. Involve your financial advisor in the recruitment process of top talent, sort of middle management and stuff. Maybe just involve them in the induction process. Be patient. It's nothing to do with employee benefits, but I've taken the last year to find a new managing director for my business. Don't rush into filling gaps in your business. You've got to find the right people. Be flexible and be generous. If you usually give 25 days holiday a year and this real top person wants 30 days holiday a year, if that's what it takes to get them on board, give them 30 days holiday a year. If you need to pay them a bit more, you do get what you pay for with top talent, I find. So if you need to dig deep and get the right people, and really, whenever you're hiring anybody, think about bringing people into your business that can really build it and lead it. And the leadership is so important, because you'll get so much more out of your people if they're coming into work and they're really excited about what they do, and they're actually working towards a purpose and with somebody they really, really respect and want to work with. Put yourself in the buyer's shoes when you're recruiting people and you're trying to retain people. Just think, if I was buying into this business, would I look at that person and think, wow, I want that person working for me. There's really something about them. And just, be careful who you bring in. Start building your team of advisors as soon as possible within your business. I mean, a lot of businesses that just have an accountant and they don't engage that much with their solicitor. They just do bits and pieces. You need to be really engaged with a team that includes a great solicitor, a business coach, wealth manager, and all those people are on here on this call. Actually, I've had a great experience working with Action Coach. I've used Vested to do an EMI scheme for my company and all my staff. But you need to have this little team of people that you build a really good, strong relationship with, so that longer term, when you come to exit your business, you've got a team of people that you trust and really know you want to work with through that process, because it's stressful and you won't have done it before. But if you've got the right people in your business, it'll make it so much more saleable, because they are your main asset for a lot of people. You need to be able to step back from the business and have it run for you.
Yeah, I think
so
that's a key. That's a key comment, Adam, is build a business that will will run and grow without you, because then you can sell a going concern, and they're not buying Sam Stevens to run TBAT. They'll be buying TBAT because it runs on its own and it grows on its own. I just happen to be there because I like being there, but build a company that can build and grow on its own without you having to be there every single day.
Yeah, if you've got people that can really lead the business, that's the key, I think, because often you recruit people who are doers. They do the job, they design this, they do sales or whatever. But if you've got somebody that can really lead the people while you're off playing golf and going on holiday, then that actually demonstrates to a buyer that this business is something that I can just, is going to be something that isn't going to take up too much of their time, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing, Adam. You've stuck to time. I think you've got some real golden nuggets out there, and it's not just get somebody on board, pay them a salary and a bit of pension. It's think about the broader picture. What is really going to tick their boxes as an employee, and as you say, think about the package and think about how much you want to invest, and don't be mean if you then miss out on the best person for your company. Be flexible. Not 25 days, they want 30 days. Maybe you might introduce the fact that they can buy a week's holiday if they want to. Then that makes it a bit more. There's different ways, isn't there, of making your place the best place to work at.
Yeah, definitely. There's loads of options there. And if anybody hasn't had that kind of modelling done for you, as I said, it really isn't the sort of massive task it was 10 years ago when I started doing it. It used to take about 2 days, but we can send you a questionnaire. It takes us about 15 minutes to build a model. And so for anybody on the call that would like to go through that process, hopefully most of you have already done it if you're business owners, but if you haven't, you want to go through that, just drop me an email. I'll get one of the team to do it for you. Amazing.
No questions from the chat, Adam. So thank you so much for joining us. We will, if we've got time, we'll do a Q&A later. As I say, if you're able to stay on the call, but I might call on you to answer questions later on. But thank you so much. Amazing. Thank you. Simon Bucknell is up next. So I think Simon's just going to pop his camera on. That's amazing. Hello there, Simon. You all right?
I'm good. You can hear me loud and clear, Sam, hopefully.
Yeah. I think you're going to run your own slides, so I'll stop sharing at this end.
I am indeed. We'll try and launch it now, and I'll give you a sense of what is about to happen.
So just out of interest, everybody, I've worked with Simon on off, maybe mainly on over the years, and we're always talking about what makes a great company to get the company fit to recruit the best people, but what are the best people that you really want for your business? So Simon's got a fascinating sort of 25 minutes of chatting through what EMBS want to tell you about getting fit for recruitment. Simon, off you go.
Can you see my screen there, Sam? I think that's the
absolutely.
First thing. You can see my presentation. Okay, great. Okay, I think it's a case of strapping in for this one, because we're going to cover a heck of a lot of ground, some serious concepts in a very, very short space of time. I want to give everybody a top level view of what is going on in the market, in my space, in talent and recruitment, specifically in the tech and engineering world. This is where we operate. And of course, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. We'll try and get into this. and I'll hopefully stick to time, Sam, fingers crossed. So things we're going to talk about, quick introductions. I'm going to talk about specialisms, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the market. We're going to get into recruitment fitness, talk about some of the basic things that we need to be looking at as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as startup or scale up professionals, and then looking at maybe some of the challenges and some of the Q&A, loosely something around that. As you know, Sam, I tend to improvise as I go. Just first of all, EMBS, that is my organization. For the last 21 years, we've helped technology and engineering businesses, build really high performing teams, to help them build great products, and most importantly, to help them create inspiring and inclusive workplaces. We talk about well-being, we talk about why somebody's a great organization to work for. That is what we're going to get into on this call. My organization operates in two brands, really, very simplistically: EMBS Engineering and EMBS Technology. Based over in Derby, we've been around for a very, very long time. Almost as long as I've been around. I've been involved in the recruitment industry for 30 years next year, and I've placed thousands of people in hundreds of jobs. And now I coach technology leaders who are looking to build diverse teams, fantastic companies, and obviously build fantastic and fulfilling careers themselves. To be specific, I operate in the startup and scale up space. My sweet spot, really, a single owner, right up to 150 employees. And I use what I call an inside out methodology, which is if you were going to bring in or build your own internal talent team, if you were going to hope that they would be an organization that you could lean on, that you could work with, that you could collaborate with, we are that organization. It just so happens that we're an external partner. Over the last maybe 12, 18 months, there's been a lot of change really there's been happening in the talent acquisition space, and I'll get onto that in a second. But what we've really sensed is this idea that having an internal talent team is fine when you're hiring, but when you stop hiring, what happens next? And I'm going to get into the market and what's been happening in that space. Alongside that, I also set up last year my own sort of passion project, which I call 432 Consulting. And I'm doing a lot of leadership brand development. And I think as entrepreneur business owners, part of your kind of route to market, and part of the reason that perhaps an employee might want to work for your company, is that they tend to follow leaders and join leaders more than they join companies. So to present and build your brand as you're building your company is so important, especially in tech and engineering. And I sense that leaders that are not only looking for jobs, but are also running companies really see the value in that. So that's something that I've been very busy doing, and that's going really, really well.
So what's just gone through my mind there? So on the one point, they actually work well together, don't they? This point about you want to build a team that can run and build the business on your own, so you can take a step back, but you also want to be the brand that inspire people to come and join you. And at some point, there's a little bit of give and take on that, isn't it? Because you might want to be taking a step back, but you still need to maintain that ethos in the company. And if the personal brand needs to become the company brand to some extent for people who want to go there, isn't it? But during all that growth over the 15, 20 years, it is the personal brand of the owners that drive a lot of that, isn't it?
It is, and we could get into the detail of that very, very sort of insightful comment you've made there, Sam. But Gen Z, they are choosing jobs and companies in a very, very different way. Employers are selecting, organizations are selecting other organizations to work with and do business with, not because they're the biggest, but because they've got the right brand of their leadership team. Back in the day, my small company missed out on opportunities because we weren't big enough. Actually, now I'm working with organizations because they want to work with me, because I've worked so hard on my personal brand. It's just so integral to not just the talent strategy, but your business development strategy as well. So the two are completely hand in hand. So pick that point up. Yeah. So just moving swiftly on, we work in two specific areas. Technology is one of the areas I get involved in. So that's obviously data science and now AI, software engineering and architecture, lots in business intelligence. We work with companies that are building technology products, obviously that are involved in the project management of that. And we recruit right up to C-suite, including the SLT. We then tend to get involved in supporting commercial sales and digital. So if you built something, who are you going to talk to them about that particular product? So, you know, we tend to put, you know, people into organizations, but we do a lot more. We talk a lot more about those job families and the details around those job families and those roles in organizations, and do a lot of consulting around building those things, building the concepts of those things, making those things really unique, helping organizations build the specifications and the outreach. So it's not just about taking a job spec and putting a bum on a seat anymore, but it's certainly not like that for us anyway. Sometimes, obviously, the other industries that we operate with tend to still work that way a little bit. But really, from my perspective, you can sense, you know, I'm quite an energetic individual, and what makes me super passionate is about working with tech for good companies, organizations that are looking to utilize technology to change the world. That is education, health, environmental, sustainability. For me, if I'm going to do my thing, I want to truly buy into what my clients are doing. And I'm thankful that a lot of my clients are working in technology areas that are genuinely going to make a difference to people's lives. That's where we like to live. On the engineering side, being in Derby, of course, we are heavily involved in engineering and advanced manufacturing. We do a lot of work in motorsport, aerospace, oil, gas, renewables, automotive. We do a little bit in rail, but we leave that to some of the other recruitment companies that have got a very established footprint there. And we source skilled engineers, really in precision engineering, quality and manufacturing. And what we love to do in that space is find people from the classroom to the boardroom. So we are very big advocates of apprenticeships generally, but we take and support from the apprenticeship layer right up to the board level and everything in between. Just want to talk to everybody about the here and now in the employment market, and everything that I talk to you about now is completely focused around technology and engineering. That is my sweet spot. If you're working outside of that, then obviously some of these things might not be as relevant, although some of the concepts cross over those different domains and those different industry sectors. 23 was a really, really odd year. Now, going back in time before we go forwards, we saw the Great Resignation, obviously after COVID, people moving around, people looking for different types of opportunities. But really, in 2023, many organizations were forced to take a breather. I think a lot of what happened in 23 was about the cost of finance, and actually in that startup space, which is going to be relevant for a lot of people watching this, that the finance wasn't as readily available, and actually the jobs market and the recruitment market is very much like the housing market. Somebody moves house, they create a chain, and it's the same as when somebody moves jobs. So very oddly, by the summer of 23, we were seeing a real constriction in hiring activity, not in all sectors and all areas, but a lot. Engineering did better than tech, but tech really did slow significantly, and that created some real issues, particularly at the lower end and the kind of mid end. So a lot of that grad recruitment started to falter. And actually, if you're involved in LinkedIn a lot, you'll have seen a lot of green open to work banners in that kind of mid to senior management space, organizations stripping out the cost. And those roles, to be honest, in tech have not come back yet, which presents quite a challenging landscape for a lot of organizations.
So going off a bit off track here, is that because the margins in that market are tightening, and so there isn't the money in a company to maintain and keep that middle management, and they're relying on graduates coming through at the bottom end that are a lot cheaper? Or is it, I don't know, are there some drivers behind that? Is it a tightening in the market for cash? I mean, you said about the cost of borrowing.
Yeah, two things really, Sam. You know, startup and scale up organizations that aren't receiving the funding don't have an appetite for growth. So, you know, they're not hiring, you know, generally. I think organizations that are a little bit bigger were looking at stripping out cost, and that SLT layer just allowed them to get some very, very quick wins. I think also the impact, which we're going to talk about in a minute, of data and AI means that quite a lot of that leadership layer were communicating information that organizations at the top level could access in different ways. I think when the market is super hot, organizations struggle with paying salaries. It's a supply and demand situation. And as a result of that, what then happens is they start to kind of default into recruiting candidates or people with less experience. So when the market's hot, they go for graduates because they can't afford to, jump into the game of playing in that kind of mad space of that mid layer where people are earning more and more and more money. The classic case I always get is, Simon, can you find me a graduate with 18 months experience, just because they've got the foundations to work on. So it creates this incredible marketplace. And in 23, that marketplace has slowed probably to pre-COVID levels, I would suggest. Having said that, there are some big areas. And to get back to the presentation, remote and hybrid work, as we well know, made a substantial difference to what happened in that Great Resignation event. That has settled down a lot. I think we can all accept, anybody that's listening to this, that has bedded in. Having said that, because it is now an employer-centric marketplace, I think employers tend to want to see more of their team generally. So in certain job families, there is a movement back into the office, a movement back into more presenteeism around hybrid work. Having said that, certainly in software engineering, it is become a remote sport, and it will probably remain a remote sport. So we're seeing some interesting things that are embedded now in the landscape.
Are you seeing so for me, naively, I always think if I get people in the office, they make friends. And because they've got friends at work, it's very hard. It's an emotional decision to then move job because they're leaving their friends behind. And if software is permanently working remotely, are they forming those friendships? And hence, what's the social bind into the business if you're allowing them to just work remotely 24/7 sort of thing?
Oh, that is an incredibly complex question to answer, oddly.
Here we go again.
If you take software engineering as a particular type of activity, what we're finding in that space is that people are transacting with employers in different ways. So if you can log on to a company, if you can log off to your employer on a Friday from home, and you can log back onto your new employer on Monday from your home office, the whole idea of work changes. You're just logging into a new system. And so, software engineers in particular are coming into organizations to build products over maybe a 24-month cycle, learning from that experience, and then saying, hey guys, thanks for that. I'm off. I'm going to go and try and do something else. And then literally the process is not like it was back in the day where we'd walk through that front door and greet the kind of front of house and go and shake hands with the team, work out where the coffee and tea was. They are literally just logging off and logging on. And if they can do that working in a similar tech stack, in a different product with a different team, but they still know where the coffee and tea is because it's downstairs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different world in that specific area. And I don't think that will ever change. The question is, what does an organization do to get somebody from logging off on one place to logging on to another? That is the question we're here to try to answer today. But remote and hybrid work has changed the landscape, and it will continue to do so. 2021, unprecedented growth. We've just been talking about that. And obviously now in Q1 2024, everything is dominated by AI, data and automation, not just in the tech space that I'm involved in, but just generally in product development, and also in the engineering space around manufacturing and automation there as well. As we know, there are huge opportunities in that space. And I think part of the reason why the tech landscape, the tech job market paused for a while was that AI has just happened. It's just literally happened overnight. So organizations that I'm talking to had not figured out that they needed some AI in their product roadmap as they're building software applications. Like, hold on a minute, what's all that about? How are we going to compete in that space? So, from talking to people, there are a lot of those kind of closed boardroom door moments where the product teams were involved in conversations saying, how on earth are we going to mobilize and pivot our product roadmap and incorporate AI to ensure that we're competitive in the future? Let's just pause everything. Let's just take a moment. And I think that there's an element of that happening in the marketplace before it goes off. And Sam, I'm telling you, it is going to go off. I think we all know that, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be incredibly exciting. And what I mean, so just a few little kind of headlines here. AI specialist demand expects to increase by 60% in the next 5 years due to AI integration across all sorts of different sectors. Job creation and automation. This is an interesting one. Despite automation fears, AI is likely to create more jobs than it displaces, and of course, enhancing productivity and creating a whole range of new opportunities. For me, it's really interesting now because the removal of humans in a kind of recruitment process, which is essentially a human process, is getting quite scary because AI is assessing AI generated job applications. And where on earth are we going to go with that? So that is happening right now. Candidates generating AI CVs and profiles and job applications that are being received by and assessed by AI generated applicant tracking platforms. And that is a really scary, for me as a person who loves the people to people and human interaction side, that's a really scary moment there. Salary insights, people that are involved in building out AI technologies are very scarce because almost it hasn't been created yet, but there's a school of thought that they will be earning significant money. Machine learning engineering going up from 100 to 130k base salary. And of course, the AI market expansion, the global AI market shows robust growth. We've just seen what's been happening over in the States, the share price of some seriously big AI organizations. It is going to be incredible. I'm just thankful that I'm still young enough to be in the process of experiencing it.
And are you finding that the UK universities, I don't know if you can answer this or not, are expanding their courses to generate the AI experts of tomorrow? So they are trying to keep ahead of the curve in what is required, as opposed to perhaps following the market.
You can now do a degree in AI, so you can do a 4-year degree with an industry replacement in AI specifically. I think AI, if you talk to any techies, AI has been around forever. The concepts of AI has always been in computer science degrees forever. But to kind of work in an environment where AI will deliver something for someone in some way, that's a very different sort of AI kind of mindset. And I think that's where it's getting interesting. One of the great things, and as you know, I'm a big advocate of apprentices and apprenticeships. I think that vocational layer has a better chance of understanding how generative AI is going to make a difference in the workplace. They can pivot and grow and scale much more quickly, which is of course what they're doing, which is great. And obviously the big headline here is that our kids will work in roles that just have not been invented yet. I went to Ecclesbourne School 2 weeks ago, and I had to just put my hands up and say, I actually have no idea what is about to happen. You've got 250 17-year-olds asking for career advice, and you're like, I don't know what the roles are going to be. And we talked a little bit about how important it was to build your human skills, your human intelligence, your emotional intelligence, because actually if tech and AI come in, maybe we'll need to double down on those sorts of skills. So it's an incredibly interesting time to be alive, to be working, and to be in recruitment. Let's just talk about graduates really quickly. You touched on this already. It's important to understand, especially if you're growing and scaling a business, the Gen Z mentality. They're choosing brands, not employers. They're researching employers on all sorts of platforms. They're consuming content largely through video, and they have incredible high expectations and very, very clear values. And they are looking for purpose, which is great for me because we're in that tech for good environment and world. Young people want to sort of get a sense that they want to make a difference. I think it's always been that way. That's nothing new, but I think that they're consuming content and actually consuming huge amounts of content through technology. And I think they're incredibly well informed. My kids are 17, 18. I've got twins that are 12. My elder children are super switched on because they're accessing all this incredible information. And as an FYI to people that are looking at the graduate hiring space over the course of the next 12 or 18 months, those of you graduates are starting salaries 26 to 33. Of course, the national minimum wage, national living wages come into play now. If you're over 21, you're going to be earning approximately 23k by law. That's hiked up the graduate salaries, and that is really what you're looking at. So if you want to plug in some grads and you want to make yourself unique, look at somewhere in between that salary scale.
So just on that, last slide, are
Sure.
they, looking at things like, is it glass floor, glass ceiling, whatever, the one where
Everything.
glass door,
Yeah.
where you can
yeah.
actually, it's the hope is that employees and ex-employees are posting about your company, and hopefully they're going to be making it like a awesome place. So are they digging around about how is it as a place to work? What benefits do they give? What socials they do? They're actually looking at the whole broader engagement with the company, not just the job
Absolutely.
prospect as such.
I'm going to touch on this in a second, but 100% Glassdoor is the brand that is like TripAdvisor for jobs. Yeah, that they are looking at that platform and assessing you. I think it has a lot of power. I think young people are easily influenced by negative reviews. Your Glassdoor is really, really important. It's incredibly important if you're trying to grow and build your brand. And the difficulty with that is disgruntled employees are more motivated to write negative reviews in the same way that TripAdvisor. So it gives a slightly skewed view, but they're accessing data points and information through Glassdoor, but multiple platforms and multiple social media platforms.
Yeah.
And obviously LinkedIn being the main one, although the Gen Zs or the Gen Zs are still in the early part of LinkedIn. They are still living in TikTok, Snapchat, etc. in that space, but it's something to be aware of for sure.
Just got about 10 minutes.
No worries, I'm going to fly through these. Skill shortages are still in high demand, especially in STEM sectors. We've just been talking about that. People are moving jobs because of the cost of living crisis, and obviously there is still significant supply and demand because of that. It is generating activity in the marketplace.
Despite me saying just 10 minutes, I've got kind of another thought coming through. Because of the fluidity in the marketplace sometimes with stuff moving around, the importance of having documented processes, if I'm building software, there is a process and a structure to how we build a software solution, or what is the journey I want to take a customer through my service industry. You need to be on top of all of that, so if somebody goes, you're not knackered as a business. You can slot somebody in and they can understand the structure and the processes, so they're not a danger if they leave as such.
Yeah,
it's hard to, because you want everybody to feel absolutely valued, but you need to be able to operate if they go, and
I think
without damage.
That's really simple one on this one, Sam. I think we will have to be very realistic. If we're in a startup or scale-up organization, unless, and this is to lead into some of your other speakers, unless you can give them something really meaty, really tangible, something that will really tie them in for the future, they are going to go. They will run out of runway, or they will run out of inspiration, and they will move. And you just can't take that personally. That's just a fact of life. What's really interesting about what you just said is, and this is to bring it back to AI, there are some absolutely insane tools that map standard operating processes in organizations to the point where you can run through almost like a screen recording of a process, and AI will map and document that process for you. Honestly, it's incredible what AI is doing to map out standard operating processes. But we digress again.
Again.
Look, you know what? With not enough graduates and apprentices coming through, together with a high percentage of Gen X, which is our generation there, Sam, thinking a little bit about approaching that retirement age, it is going to create, and is starting to create, not necessarily in tech, but certainly in engineering, with a very aging workforce. It's creating, or will create, that perfect storm event, which will create huge demand. And obviously over 63% of technology and engineering employers will expect to face that talent shortage in 2024, with almost 24% stating that the shortage will impact their growth. That is a reality. That is what we're faced with. So even though we had this slightly odd pausing event in tech in the last 6-9 months, the market is still, growing, and there is going to be increasing demand. And that's really where we start to get into conversations about how we deal with skill shortages, and how important it is to be in peak condition, so you can attract and retain the best talent, which is obviously the segue into starting, your hiring through this idea of recruitment fitness. And as I said, you know, in these previous presentations, I have and had a personal trainer, and we talked about muscle groups, we talked about cardio, we talked about strength, and it made me realize that, you know, fitness is everywhere. It's mental fitness, physical fitness. And when I went and when I go into organizations, I often sense that they get part of their fitness right, but they're not overall fit. And I think it's really important that, you know, in my job, that I go in and assess and support and coach and help organizations build out their recruitment fitness and really understand the rules of the game. Because if they do that, it gives them a competitive hiring advantage. And that is what we're talking about. But basically, building out a competitive hiring advantage. So where do we start? We start with a couple of really, really important questions. I hope the people here that can see that question. And it starts with this: what makes your company a great place to work? If you ever sit your team in a boardroom or in a meeting room, ask them that question. Get your post-it notes out and stick those post-it notes on the wall. Get them to give you everything. Often this question is asked and answered by a small number of people in an organization. Go and ask this question to the employees in the team. Listen to them. It's scary because, hey, they might surface some things that are not so great about working for your company, but those are the things that you need to know about. So the first question, go and ask your people why they feel this is a great place to work. Capture that information and start to build your list, because that starts to build out your employer brand and largely also helps you to develop the starting point of your employee value proposition. The employee value proposition being all of the amazing, wonderful things that come together to make you an attractive destination employer. Second question, if you want to kind of move it forward and make it a little bit more difficult, and that is, what makes your company unique? So not only do you have all of the things on that list that make you sound fantastic, but what gives you uniqueness? And actually what I find is that what gives an organization a uniqueness is the combination of things on the list. And that's really where you should start your journey before you even think about hiring talent. These are the core building blocks of things, getting the mindset right. You've got to then ask yourself the question, what are the trajectories in the role? You know, if I went up to somebody in your team or in your organization and said, what is your next move? There should be no pause. There should be, I've got to do this, then I've got to do that. And if I do that, I'm going to get to here. So all of the roles should have a trajectory. No role in an organization should be static. You're talking about attracting people, build out your role trajectories and ensure that your people know about them and how they should get to that next stage. If you want to retain people, you know, do it for that reason. They always have somewhere to go. Now, we always talked at this point, Sam, a little bit about the importance in considering hiring either experienced people or hiring people at that slightly lower level. And I know that TBAT can support with funding in that area.
Yeah, so what we found, Simon, is that quite a few of our clients, we educate them that if they pay for a more expensive person that has got the experience, the leadership that we've spoken about, got the creativity, got the management skills, yes, they will cost you more money. And you might think, actually, for 60K, I can get 2 graduates. But what is the time you need to do to build those graduates up to be really useful? How much overwatch do they need to be able to deliver what you want? And that will stop you working on your business, because you'll be working in it all the time to look after these people. So perhaps initially, should you look at getting somebody at the 60K level who are fairly autonomous, are coming up with ideas and can be left to crack on and do their own thing and deliver it well? Yes, will they do twice the output? But can I afford that 60K in the short term? So by accessing innovation grants, if what you're doing is innovation product or process, if that's bringing in 70% of their salary for 2 years, that is an incredible boost. And often on top of that, you can claim R&D tax credits, which might be another 10%. So all of a sudden, nearly their entire wage can be covered if you secure a grant. If you don't, and you go down the R&D tax route, that can still be generating 40% of the cost of employing that person. You know, and the value for money you're getting is absolutely terrific. Don't get me wrong, we take on sort of near graduates and we build them up in the business. But if we've got a heavy load coming in, we will recruit higher up, so we know that they can just get on and do it. But we do still invest low down, but it is a combination. But as a new start company, perhaps you need to be spending a little bit more money because they can be left to do the job they need to do. So you can go and talk to investors, you can talk to your accountant about doing a business plan, a cash flow, this, that, and the other. So,
great, Sam. And this is
yeah.
this is what was interesting when I was like, hold on a minute. So you can get funding to help people hire more experienced employees. And then I asked you the question, what about the recruitment fees? And you said that the funding can also go towards some of that as well. Is that right?
Yeah. The recruitment costs, specifically into, say, R&D, going into an R&D claim, a lot of that can be allowed. Within a grant, that's a bit trickier, but you might build in a work package whereby you need to be building the team, so you can actually build some of the costs into that as a subcontract. So there are ways of mitigating some of those recruitment costs, and some of those recruitment costs can be quite hefty for a very good person.
Well, it depends whether you do business with the MBS or not. We do have very good preferential fees. But Sam, in all seriousness, with TBAT and EMBS, you can hire experienced technology and engineering people through funding, which could make such a significant difference to your P&L and your bottom line if you're looking to scale the business. And that's an incredibly important point. The thing for me really is making sure that everybody in the organization looks in the mirror. Does everybody, every hiring person, see the company, see the role, see the vision for the organization in the same way? You know, candidates that go for interviews will often have an interview with one person that will say one thing, and then an interview with somebody that will say something slightly contradictory. Talking about very smart people here that have got choice. That message is, you know, really super important. Right, we've got, I guess, a few more minutes left. So
2 more minutes.
Fire through the pillars of recruitment fitness. Is a bit of a reading exercise.
Just super quick. I think getting on something like your board is so important, because thinking about that trajectory word, you mentioned it 3 or 4 times, that's kind of scares me a little bit, because often SMEs are fairly flat structure because they've got to be lean and mean, and progression, it's not just vertical, is it? It needs to be sideways. It's more roles and responsibility, but not necessarily getting more leadership management extra. And I think that trajectory piece, as you say, is so important for that retaining staff. But how does I think we're not going to answer that question now, but understanding what potential trajectories may be for each role is something where some external help is really going to pay benefit, because, you know, we need to get that person on board, we need to train them, but we want to keep them. We want to keep them on board, engaged and feeling fulfilled.
It's such an important and interesting point that you mentioned. That 2 things for me there really. Of course, you can build out capability, role responsibility and remuneration. If they add more value, you can provide more value. Of course, that's really, really important. I tend to sort of almost disagree a little bit, in the sense that organizations have flat structures. Whenever I go into an organization that has a flat structure, I tend to believe that they don't really have a plan. I know that's a really controversial thing to say, but whenever I hear, oh, we have a flat structure, I'm like, that's because you've not built your people plan and your talent strategy.
Yeah.
You know, do you have a growth mentality? In which case, if you do, you're going to be bringing people through, and therefore there's got to be an organizational design. So I think that I take that comment respectfully, but with a pinch of salt, because I think organizations can do better than say that they've got a flat structure. But that's just me. Shall we move on, Sam?
Well, hence the trajectory piece is so important, and getting somebody to help you do it is what is needed, and rethink what you do. Yeah. No.
Look, here we go. I'm just going to fire through these, okay, if that's okay. So first up, you know, we're talking about recruitment fitness. Endurance and stamina. Clearly define and communicate your employee value proposition, all the things that make you great, and not only highlights the unique benefits and opportunities your organization offers, but also aligns with long-term aspirations and values potential candidates. This ensures that messaging resonates deeply with both current and prospective employees. Getting those questions right, engaging your workforce, getting them involved is just so important. Power and speed. Invest in building strong employer brand that reflects your company's culture, mission, vision, and values. Utilize diverse media. We talk about this with Gen Z. Think about the different platforms. Think about video. and get out there to build an authentic kind of representation of you through testimonials that really allows people to really understand your organization and the DNA of your organization. Focus on creating a seamless, transparent and engaging candidate journey. Be empathetic there and think a little bit about what it'd be like if you were on the receiving end. Ensure every single touch point reflects your brand's commitment to excellence and inclusivity. And always provide timely feedback. It's just my bugbear, but across my industry, please give us good timely feedback, clear communication. And of course, if you're going to recruit direct, hopefully you can start to use technology and AI to streamline your application process. Accuracy and agility. Measure the impact of your branding efforts on talent acquisition and retention. Think about what's working, what's not. Look at it, try new things, and continuously improve your strategies, really to deal with a very kind of evolving marketplace, as we've just been talking about. Absolutely bonkers what is about to happen in the AI space. And this will create a great long-term strategy for your business. I just very quickly just want to ask you just a number of questions, which is back to this idea of the fitness test. This is for the people that are watching, really to ask yourself these questions to understand whether or not you're ready, you're fit. Question one, if you were on the receiving, or question two, in fact, question two, if you were on the receiving end of your recruitment process, how would you rate it? If you've just hired people into your organization, talk to them about the process. Talk to them about what they liked, what they didn't like, the speed, and what it felt like. Do you interview using behaviors and values alongside competency and experience? To deal with that kind of Gen Z purposeful kind of view on life, it's important that you build those things into what you're doing when you're talking to people. We certainly do that when we're screening candidates for our clients and building the plan around that. Are you providing some sort of feedback or engagement, like I've just said, to all, not just the people that you're talking to, but everybody that has made an application to your organization? Are you dealing with that in a really positive way? And as I said, how are you communicating this message to market? Hope this message that I'm hoping you kind of pull together. What channels, what content are you using? Because recruitment now is absolutely traditional in the sense of finding a fantastic person, but it is very much a marketing game. And that sort of brings me on to my last slide, really, which is what happens when you're not hiring. What normally happens is everybody kind of down tools, close down the website, let's get into something else. Let's get distracted by, building the company. Your employer brand, your employee value proposition, your comms, your content, your mindset is always around trajectories, growth, brand. Recruitment is not a part-time sport. It is an always-on sport. And this is the checklist: greatness, uniqueness, trajectories, funding, stakeholder alignment, EVP development, brand development, and just managing that employee engagement experience. Look, I've covered so much ground here.
Yeah.
It's been crazy, Sam, as it always is. Just to say, I had over 2 million views on my LinkedIn posts last year. I post every day something around the subject that I just covered. Please follow me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. If you think I can help you, just please get in touch.
Absolutely amazing. So again, we do need to meet up for a proper beer at some point and go for a far bigger conversation. Amazing. I hope everybody's enjoyed that. I thought that was superb. Followed nicely on from Adams with the end in sight, but now we've talked about being fit for recruitment, issues in the marketplace, the impact of AI, tightening and loosening of the market with the people available, but most importantly, your brand as both the owner and as the company to recruit the best staff. Absolutely amazing. Simon, there no questions in the chat. We've got a little comment there. Thank you, Simon. Extremely useful. So
thank you very much, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, so amazing. Okay, I think we're going to take just a 5-minute break, little comfort break. Then we've got two amazing speakers coming up after that. We've got Matt Bull from Action Coach and Chris Hill from Vested. So you've heard that Vestige and Action Code are both used within Adam's organisation. So I didn't know that, and it's just amazing how it's that professional network. So awesome. We'll be back in 5 minutes. That will make it 25 past. Simon, thank you very much, and speak later.